Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of our CSS animations mini-series. Now in this video we are going to be going over the basics of keyframe animation. And keyframe animation is one of the most powerful tools that we have to create amazing looking animations with CSS. So I will be covering a quick thing I missed that I should have covered in the previous video, and then we'll be jumping into keyframes. So I'm going to go ahead and open up our index.html and go live. All right, so as a quick recap, in the last video we implemented a simple transition. Now this is called transition animation, and it's pretty simple. It allows us to transition between two kind of styles, but keyframe animation is a lot more powerful. So of course we're actually just going to go ahead and start off by removing the hover. Let's remove all of the transition stuff. So at this point we just have this red hello world. I'm just going to remove the red, make it a default hello world. Let's remove the padding. Well, let's remove the margin at the very least. So we have a hello world kind of, 100 pixels padded into our screen here. And I'm actually probably just going to remove all this. Make it simpler. So whoops, I just made a small mistake. I'm going to quickly undo all my stuff. Well, the one thing I wanted to cover is transition full shorthand, which is, instead of doing these four properties here, I could do just a transition, and then I can say all, for all, the property, 0.5s, 0s, ease, in, out. And if I am not mistaken, let me quickly comment this out and see. This is what it looked like before. And if we just add that and we remove these, then it looks the same. So this is the shorthand property, just like how you can, again, use margin, 100 pixels, 0, 100 pixels, for example. No, 100 pixels, 100 pixels, 50 pixels, like, you could do this. In this is like margin top is 100 pixels, margin right is 100, margin bottom is 50, margin left is 50, but it can all be done in one CSS property. It's very similar to this. Instead of doing transition property, duration, delay, and timing, we can just combine them all into transition and separate them by spaces. So that's just a cool thing to look out for. But again, I am just going to end up deleting all of this code anyways, but just a cool little tip. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove that as well. So now we are left with our simple hello world. So for the introductions to kind of keyframe animation, we can create animations by essentially specifying a kind of process that an element should go through. So to actually get this working, we want to create an animation by doing an @keyframes and then doing something like that. And I think it's @keyframes, like, let's say fly in, or fly-in-right, or left maybe. And let me just make sure I'm doing that correctly. CSS. Yep, okay, perfect. So fly in left, we are creating a keyframe. And a very simple way to do this is simply to put 0%, and then like this. And this means at the start of our animation, what do we want to do? Let's say we want to have let's actually try to recreate our hello world thing. So at 0%, we want to have our font size at 0, and I'm going to actually pull up the code from the previous episode to reference, since again, we want to recreate the animation that we originally had using keyframes instead. So yeah, we had 40, and then it changed to 80 pixels. So again, font size was 40 pixels, and then our color was red. So if I save that right away, and I actually have to apply it here. So to apply our animation to our H1, I have to say animation, colon, and then fly in left, because that's what we named it. And if I save this, let me make sure that I'm not implementing this incorrectly. I guess I am. Oh, that's why. Animation, so yeah, I also have to specify an animation duration for 1 second. Perfect. So what I've done here is I've created our keyframes, which right now are only specifying the start state because this is at 0%, aka when it starts, it wants these properties. And I can actually remove the font size here. Or I'll just keep it. And then here in our H1, I am specifying that we are using the fly and left animation, which I've specified over here, and we're making it happen over the course of 1 second. So that's cool. Now the next step would be to add 100%, which is at the end of our animation. Where do we want to be? Well, we want to be at 80 pixels. We want to be color is blue, and then I think we want some sort of rotation right here. We want our transform to be rotated 20 degrees, and let's just copy that in. So notice what happens when I save. I save, and this is what happens. Every time I reload the page, we get our animation, which it's not quite the same as when we hovered over it, but this is the kind of gist of creating cool looking animations. So yeah, that is pretty much how you do it. So a quick small little just recap of this part would be to create the animation itself. You want to use this @keyframes and then name your animation. And when you're inside the @keyframes, you can actually put different percentages to kind of denote what percent of the animation you're in. For example, I can even have a 50% in here, so aka halfway through the animation, I want to have the font size maybe shrink. Maybe I want it to shrink first and then get big really fast. And then let's just say I want it to be yellow for whatever reason. So notice what happens is here, it gets smaller, it becomes yellow, and then it grows really fast. And then at the end it resets. And that's due to the nature of the way we specified this, but we can actually just have it not reset. But for now, I'm going to have it just reset. So yeah, it gets really small, gets really big, and then it returns to normal. So we can have as many keyframes in here as we want to create as robust of an animation as we want. So that has pretty much been the beginning of keyframes. Now we're going to quickly demonstrate how this works on a practical level using some sort of fly-in, creating an actual fly-in animation. So we can basically say for our fly-in animation at 0%, we want to translate X because we want to fly it from the left. We can just make it minus 500 pixels. So notice what happens right there is already it kind of flies in from the left. And I guess actually that probably is good. Translate X 0. And we can make it come even farther out. So like if I did that, it'll come all the way out there and then reset itself. So that is one way to kind of use our fly-in animation. And I'm just going to leave this at 0 here. So that's what happens. Now the cool thing about animations, and especially using this keyframe method here, is we can actually create a bunch of other elements like like a bunch of random text, and then I can copy that over and we can create multiple P elements here. So let's just say we have all of this text here. Well, if we also wanted to animate our text, we could simply add the animation of fly in left and then add the animation duration of 1 second. And just like that, now we suddenly have our whole website animating in. And if we wanted to make it slower for the text, then we could animate our title and then animate our text. So that gives us a pretty high degree of customizability, and this itself is also customizable. Like notice we could have it spin in from the left. Like let's just add a transform rotate. So let's just say it's rotated 0 degrees here. And then let's have it maybe, I'm not 100% sure how to do this. Let's first try 180 because that will make it all upside down. So that's really weird. But let's try 360 maybe. Yep, it'll do a full, okay, that's actually kind of cool. So I just created this random thing. So it starts rotated at 0 degrees and it ends rotated at 360, meaning 1 full revolution. And if I save this, our text kind of spins in. And if it's all 1 second here, it all spins in together. Now that's a pretty interesting looking animation. And really you could customize this as much as you want. Like even we could take it farther. We could say the scale is at 0 and it gets bigger as it spins in. So scale is 1. So notice it starts small and then it gets bigger. And if we wanted to remove the rotation, I'll show you what that looks like when it's just fading in or flying in, but it's getting bigger as it comes in, just like that. So really, like I said, there are so many possibilities And this keyframe kind of concept is at the core of almost all animations you see online or stuff like that. And there are many ways to kind of extend what we've learned here, which I will be covering in future videos, and make even more like amazing and robust animations. So if you want to see more videos in this series about CSS animation, you can check out the playlist, which is linked in the description, where I'm currently uploading daily. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for notifications whenever I post new videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.